let's talk a little bit about who we are as human beings. And I'm going to give you a little history lesson here. And the reason is it's going to support this claim that human beings are linguistic beings. We live in and exist in a sea of language, and most of us are kind of blind to the implications of that. So if we go historically, go back 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 years ago, human beings lived in little bands, and we were a third-tier species running around the plains in Africa, right? Our main function was to avoid getting to become snacks for saber-toothed tigers. And if you look at how we shaped up in terms of our size, our speed, our strength against most of the other creatures, the only thing that kept us from becoming extinct is we could coordinate a little better than the rest of them. Now, science doesn't have an answer for which came first, the big brain or the capacity for language, but what we know is that we went in the blink of a historical eye from little bands running around the savannas to the dominant species on the planet. How did we do that? Were we stronger than everything else? No. Were we faster? No. Were we smarter? You can argue about that. But what we did have was this capacity for language. And what that enabled us to do was coordinate more effectively than any other species on the planet. Now, if you look, you can look at wolves and killer whales and dolphins, dogs. Most species have some capacity for coordination, right? So if you watch, wolves will coordinate on a hunt, right? So they have a set of sounds and things they make that enable them to do that. What they don't do really is plan. There's not a big, monthly wolf meeting where we get together and, all right, so for this week we're going to go down by the river and hang out down there, and I want you guys to go over and chase some coyotes, and you guys check out that elk herd. It doesn't work that way. We have the capacity to do that. And what enables that, again, is language. And when I say language, I don't mean any particular language like Chinese, English, Spanish, or French, but the phenomenon of language. And what makes a language is it has 6 basic, what we call linguistic moves in it. Absent that, it's just noise. So no matter what the language is, it consists of declarations, assertions, assessments, requests, offers, promises. That's it. 6 basic moves. And once you begin to see that and see those all around you, all sorts of simplicity shows up where everybody else is stuck in mind-numbing chaos. What does that have to do with us in the moment? The big question for a lot of people is, well, who am I? I don't know who I am. And you talk to people and they go, well, yes, but if you knew the real me, this was a convention that we need to let go of. To put it bluntly, there isn't any real you. Well, if you could just see into my heart and you would know the authentic. No, if I open you up and I look at your heart, there's no little mini you in there, right? There's a nice, hopefully, muscle pumping blood away and it's all red and pink and kind of wet. Well, there's there's no little mini me. Despite, what the movies would show us up there pulling levers and stuff, there's a bunch of kind of gray, pinky goo up there. The you that you are is a linguistic construct, right? It is a story, it is a narrative that you tell to yourself, and then we convince ourselves that that's who I am. Problem with that is I'm probably the last person in the world that I should listen to when it comes to assessing myself. Key distinction here. Assertions, statements of fact. To make it an assertion, it has to pass what we call the universal observer test. That means that anybody on the planet would look at it and go, yes, the sky is blue, water's wet, grass is green, rocks are hard, 2 and 2 is 4. Right? If it can't pass the universal observer test, it's not a true assertion. Assessments are 99% of what causes for human communication. This is my thoughts, my interpretations, my point of view, my feelings, my opinions, etc. The story that I have about myself is 99% assessment. Here's the challenge. Outside of your physicality, which is to say your height, your weight, your gender, eye color, things of that sort, there's nothing that I can assert about you. Anything that's about your character, the who that you are, those are all assessments. Right? all assessments. Now, what does this mean? It means that, and the freedom here is that I can reconfigure myself and generate new assessments. This is how the process of transformation works. If I say, John's a jerk, well, okay, I've got my own standards for jerkiness. John may think he's a wonderful human being. The dilemma is if John thinks he's a wonderful human being, but everybody around him thinks he's a jerk, guess what? He's a jerk, because that's how everyone's going to interact with him. So when confronted with that, John's got two choices. He can poo-poo all of that, say, no, you don't really know me, you don't understand me, I'm really a wonderful guy. No, actually all these actions that you take are the actions of a jerk. Or he can start taking some new actions, because people can only make assessments based on what we do in the world. So if I want to be a different person, I have to start taking new actions. Just thinking I want to be different, intending I want to be different, won't do it. If I begin to consistently take the new actions over time, and there will be a lag, it will generate a new narrative about who I am. Now, I said something a minute ago that kind of surprised a bunch of you, which is, well, wait a minute, what do you mean I'm the worst person? Yeah, you are the worst person to have any clarity about who you are because you're hopelessly biased, usually in the negative about who you are, oftentimes too in the positive. So it's not so much do I true to who I think I am. If I want to get a sense of how I'm showing up in the world, I go and ask other people, what's your sense of me? How do you experience me? What is it you see that I might want to do? And then you can decide whose assessments do I want to listen to, and that's a critical determinant. But in the end, what it comes down to is if I want to be a different human being, I need to change the story that exists about me in the world, and the only way I can do that is by changing my actions. New actions beget different assessments beget a different narrative about you, and the you that you want to become lives in language.